witches!
Hi, hello, and welcome back.
It is a folklore day.
Yes, it
Or
is.
mythology, whatever you want to call it. Ah, my nose is trying to sniffle. It's tickly, tickly, tickly.
Pineapple.
So, everyone, I got some new books. I got a whole book on Greek myths and legends. I got a whole book on Egyptian myths and legends. And I got a whole book on Norse myths and legends. Actually, I had just got the Norse one, and then I was telling Emily about them, and we were kind of like, I should go get the other ones. So I did.
Yep.
So we chose our people or stories for today from the Greek myths and legends book, and we kind of are starting with like the creation story of the world. So I'm going to start with Chaos. Chaos is a very confusing character and no one can figure him out. There are lots of different stories about him, but they all kind of amount to the same thing. Or technically her, I guess. Yeah. It's the very first of everything. So before there was anything, there was just this empty space and time. It was just kind of there. Sometimes it's um described as like a big lump of like madness, and sometimes it's described as a void. But when Chaos is personified, she is actually personified as female. Um, it's also been depicted as a place, as a realm between Earth and Tartarus. So, like, when you leave, kind of like if you're of the Christian faith, kind of like when you pass away, you don't go straight to heaven or hell. You go to, fuck, the word just went out of my head. Help me out. Purgatory.
Purgatory.
Um, so in the Greek story, instead of going straight to Tartarus from Earth, you would go through chaos to get there. But that's only in some stories. From chaos is where the first three primordial gods came. Um, Gaea, which is the earth, Tartarus is the underworld, and Eros is love or desire, depends on where you read it. Chaos started out being associated with things such as confusion and disorder, which is where the modern English term of chaos came from. Um, but I think that was just because it was the first thing and there was nothing known about it. One story says Chaos had 5 children, the 3 that I already talked about, and then also Erebus and Nyx. Erebus, I think, is the heir of the underworld. But
Yeah, I think so, because
in
Erebus is
some
in my...
stories call it heaven, but I think it's like the air, the sky of the underworld. And then Nyx, who is the night.
Oh,
I'm gonna,
Erebus, like E-R-E.
yeah,
It's darkness.
darkness. Okay. I'm gonna butcher this, but there's this. I don't know if it's a book or poems or what, but it's the Hieronyman Rhapsodies. And they say that Chaos, Aether, and Erebus were the 3 children of Cronus, who is one of the Titans of time. But that doesn't really work if Chaos is the mother of Gaea, because Gaea is the mother of the Titans. So there's a lot of convoluted stories about Chaos.
I think there's a lot of convoluted stories about, like, ancient everything.
Yeah, it's very like
Because it's very
mixed
oracle.
up.
Oracle.
Yeah,
Oral. It's very oral.
yeah, and like different, like for lack of a better term, like tribes or villages had different stories about things, and they all kind of get mixed together. And then it was such a society of art that people take artistic license with some of the stories. There's a whole play or musical or something about, it's called The Birds, and it's
Oh,
about either Chaos or Gaea. I don't remember which one. I think it was Gaea.
I'll talk about it in mine.
Okay, perfect. Because I kept reading about it, but I was like, I'm not gonna write that down. And then, but yeah, so like
Now we'll talk
lots of
about it.
stories. I like it. I like it. And then there's another source called the Pseudo Hyginus, that say that chaos was born, and there's big air quotations around that, um, from Caligny or the mist. Um, the name chaos itself can actually be translated as gap, like GAP, like a gap in the world. Um, and that is the role that she does actually take, because she becomes the, like the air of the earth, and then helps into being, the air of the heavens, which is ether, and the air of the underworld or darkness, which is Erebus. Yeah, that's all I have about chaos. There is not a lot out there. I have
Damn.
5 sources. 5 sources. That's all I could find. I went to GreekMythology.com, GreekLegendsAndMyths.com, HistoryCooperative.org. I used Encyclopedia Britannica. That is all there was about chaos.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
wasn't
on to
ready
Nyx.
to like go that fast into it. I thought it would be like 10 minutes. Oh, okay.
I got 7.
Okay. Um, okay, so I've talked about Nyx, and Nyx is night in Greek, and in Roman it's Nox. So Nyx is the goddess and the personification of the night in the Hesiod's theogony. She is the offspring of chaos and the mother of ether in Hemera. Um, ether, I think, what? She's brightness. So ether is brightness and Hemera is day. She mothered them with Erebus, who is darkness.
You know what's kind of funny? I think there's at least one story about Chaos and Nyx birthing something, but they're both female.
Huh.
That's very
Well,
interesting.
I mean, women can birth whoever the fuck they want without a
Well, and some of
father.
them, like she just births herself, so like she just, there they
just
are.
came, just came into the world. So Nyx by herself also has a lot of children, not just the two with Erebus. So all of the children, according to Hesiod at least, she's got Ether and Hemera. She's got Moros, Care, Thanatos, Hypnos, uh, the the Oniroi, sorry, Momus, Oasis, the Hesperides, the Mor the Morai, the Moray or Morai actually, sorry, Morai, which is the Fates, which is what we talked about in the last folklore episode. Um, the Curies, Nemesis, Apati, Philatites, Phil,
Titties.
Philites, Garrus, and Eris. Eris. No. No. So those are all her children, but she only had 2 of them with another being. And each one of these guys um have like their own meaning and whatever. So Morris is doom or destiny. Care is destruction or death. Thanatos is death. Hypnosis, sleep. The Oniroi is dreams. Momus is blame. Damn. Oasis is pain or distress. Um, the Moray are the fates. Nemesis is indignation, retribution. Uh, apate, or whatever, is deceit. Philites is love. Garrus is old age, and Eris is strife. That sounds about right. Um, uh, anyway, so some of these, I guess, some of the offspring, they're actually later described as her children. Not all authors will agree that all of them are considered her kids. So just depends on the sources. Um, yeah, so there's like all kinds of genealogies basically. In other genealogies, there's an account where she is the mother of Tartarus by Ether. So by her own kid, she has Tartarus.
That happens a
Um,
lot in the Greek mythology.
oh, 100%.
A
While
lot.
others, yeah, while others, she is described as being the mother of Eros by Ether. Um, why is there a spider coming down on my face? Why? Why of all times does this have to happen? Get out of my face. Listen, I'm all about saving like spiders because they're good and they eat the mosquitoes, but like not in my face, please. I just fucking lost it. I don't know
Yeah.
where it's at. Oh, it's in my. Okay, well, you can hang out right there. Anyways, I made Will get out of bed this morning, like after he was supposed to get out of bed to kill an earwig. And I sat there the whole time
Ugh.
and I was like, is this bad? And I was like, yes. It's not a spider. It doesn't do anything that I know of to help my living situation.
Ugh.
It does not eat other bugs that I'm aware of. I was like, no,
No, it can
I'm gonna
go.
save a
You know what are
spider.
the worst? Centipedes. Centipedes
Blech.
and millipedes. They have too many fucking legs. No, and
It's
if you
just
come in my
they're
house
furry. They're furry. I don't like it.
and they got too many legs and they're fast as fuck and they need to get the fuck out.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Where was I? Um. Oh, okay. There was a poet, Bacchylides, who considered Nyx to be the mother of Hemera by Kronos and not by Erebus. Kronos was time. And it also mentions elsewhere that Hecate was her daughter. Which that kind of makes sense. I can see that because she's the night and she's like the goddess of, I wouldn't say witchcraft or like, but similar things to night.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
also could just be like, I'm not necessarily assuming, but like putting things like with like that I think are similar and other
Yeah. No, I mean it
places
makes
of the world
sense.
might
Like
not
they're
think. Yeah. Let's see. What
because
else?
she's like the moon, right? Hecate, isn't she the moon? Maybe not.
Mm,
Maybe I'm making that up.
why we just did an episode on her. Why can I not remember that?
I know you
She's the
say
goddess.
just, but it was actually a while ago.
True. Boundaries, transitions, crossroads, magic, the new moon, necromancy, and ghosts. So the new moon.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, so that poet Bacchylides had mentioned this elsewhere in his work. Um, I'm not saying this name. Aeschylus. Aeschylus also mentions Nyx as the mother of the furries or the Arenes, whatever. While another one considers Madness or Lisa to be the daughter of Nyx and Uranus. So that's just an example of how many different like possibilities with
And it's
genealogy there is.
so funny because if we do have time to do Gaea, which it's looking like we probably will, um, I'm gonna totally contradict that story. So
I love
it's awesome.
um so yeah, so like there's just like so many different people say different things, and it's like, all right, what's what? I mean, we're obviously not there with these beings, so we don't know. Um and there's actually another, it's called the Orphic Sources, which is, I don't want to say it's a cult, but it's like a religion based after Orpheus and his teachings, or like his writings and works. um in the Orphic sources, Nyx is frequently mentioned as the mother of Uranus. um and in one narrative, it's believed that was actually the first being to exist. She is considered to be the mother of Uranus and Gaia, possibly even without a father. Um, let's see. This also is likely derived from the Orphic cosmology, cosmogon, cosmogony, cosmon. Jesus,
Cosmogony.
thank you, cosmogony. I just needed someone else to say it before I could say it myself. Nyx gives birth to a wind egg from which Eros emerges. In later sources, she is mentioned as the mother of the stars by possibly Uranus. In one account, she is described as the daughter of Eros. So there's just so many things. Um,
It's so like it's really funny to think about the Greek times. Like I would have loved to have been alive in ancient Greece. Like they just gave no fucks. And like don't get me wrong, I am not for incest at all. Like not at all. But like Uranus is supposed to be one of Gaea's children, who she also has children with, which makes Nyx his grandmother.
yeah.
So like
Well,
this is
like
just so convoluted. Which
it's
technically
like,
these aren't humans, right? Like
yeah, but
they're a
it's
different
like
or being.
what is it? Hades and Persephone.
Yeah.
Persephone is Hades' uncle. No, niece. Sorry. I
Yeah,
realized
I
how
was
I
gonna
said it
say
after I
flip
said
that.
it. Yeah, so like she's his niece, and there was like a rape scene in like the Greek things, but people are romanticizing it. Now I'm not saying you can't romanticize it and kind of like switch off the incest idea, because a lot of people do that, and it's actually like a great story that you can make, like in Lore Olympus. I fucking love that. That's such a great story. Um but it's like,
Yeah.
damn. He actually like stole her from his mom, made a
Yeah.
deal with Zeus, and Zeus is technically like Persephone's dad. That's a whole other story. We might
Yeah.
actually
Okay,
get
let's
into that.
just
I'd be interested in doing that one.
Zeus is a major fuckhead. Like
In and out of Lore Olympus, he is.
yes, all the way across everything. Major
You know
fuckhead.
what? In what is it? God of War. He's a fucking asshole in God of War. He is horrible. And like he also
Because
is the
that game's
worst.
actually pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Instead of like, oh, what's his name? Kratos. So Kratos is just like an extra character in the mix of things. And they add him and intertwine him with like the Greek mythology and like times. Um but I I don't know what they base it on, like what historical aspect they base it on. But yeah,
Right.
I mean, I haven't that, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They do a lot. And that one's actually pretty cool because there's like a DLC that you can actually go to Tartarus, and you can battle Hades, and you can like go to Atlantis, and That's where who is it? Um Poseidon. You meet
Oh, okay.
Poseidon and he's like, this is my realm, like this is where I live, or not necessarily live, but like this is where he like resides over, and it's Atlantis. And then you get to
Nice.
go to Elysium and you get to meet Persephone and like all of these people. So it's actually, I mean, that's really cool. It's a really great game. Okay, get it. I don't know if you can get it for your Xbox One, but you can get it for a PS if you had one.
I don't have one of those.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, um, so oh, what is it? Yeah, so depending on who you are, where you are, and what you believed in is going to be like how you believed in the genealogies of Nyx. Um, Aristophanes actually wrote a comedy in the birds, and it parodies a cosmogony which has been considered Orphic, in which night is one of the first beings to come into existence, like I said earlier, alongside Chaos, Erebus, and Tartarus, and lays a wind egg from which Eros is born. Now, with this, now this source didn't have a lot on this story. I had to go find a different source on that. Um, now I don't know where. Oh, here it is. Um, I was like, okay, well now I don't even have it. Um, so Erebus and Nyx are the first divinities who hatch an egg from which Eros, the god of love, emerges and creates the earth. Aristophanes' Phanes- Aristophanes' egg creation myth was inspired by the Orphic cosmogony tradition modeled after Hesiod's better known creation story, with one main difference: the addition of the Greek deities hatching from eggs. Aristophanes tells us how Chaos, Night, Erebus, and Tartarus, the underworld, are were the only ones in existence until a black-winged Nyx laid an egg in the infinite depths of Erebus. From the egg sprang gold-winged Eros, the god of love. Eros then went on to create the rest of the world. In Orphic creation stories, the egg represents the world, which is why it plays such a pivotal role in the creation of the gods and goddesses. Anyways, so yeah. And there's also cults that follow Nox or Nyx. There's no known temple dedicated to them or to her, but statues are known to have been made, and a few cult practices of her are mentioned, depending on like the author, I guess. Um, she actually had an oracle at the Acropolis at Megara, in the Greek world, ancient Greek world. Um, and she is more often worshipped in the background of other cults. There is a statue called Night in the Temple of Artemis. The Spartans had a cult of sleep and death, conceived of twins. They composed of compounds of Nyx are and what is it? Of compounds of Nyx are attested for several deities, most notably Dionysus and Aphrodite, who loves the whole night. So Dionysus is nocturnal, Aphrodite who loves the whole night. So like there's like this weird cult thing. I don't want to call it a religion, but um and actually even Roman authors have mentioned cults um worshiping Nox in the Roman counterpart. And there's actually what is it? An ancient rite, and it is performed on May 9th.
Hey, that's my birthday.
Nox Lemuria. What is it said? Roman authors mentioned cult practices and wrote hymns in the honor of their equivalent goddess Nox. Ovid wrote, May 9 Lemuria nefastus, you ancient rite will be performed. Nox Lemuria here will be offerings to the mute dead, and she's also mentioned by another author. O Nox, ever shall this house throughout the circling periods of the world hold thee high in honor and in worship. Black bulls of chosen beauty shall pay thee sacrifice. So black animals were often sacrificed to chthonic gods, Oganus and Volcanus, which is Hephaestus. Fire shall eat the lustral entrails where o'er the new milk streams. That was a wonderful poem based off of Knox.
Let's not do that on my birthday.
Yeah, right. And okay, so in some authors will actually describe that Nyx resides in Tartarus, which is also known as the underworld, the dark recesses of the underworld, specifically, and the dark misty air which swirled around Tartarus was said to be Erebus. Oh, okay, so like misty air, I get it. Many of the other dark deities of ancient Greece would also reside there. Each night, Nyx would emerge from her cave within Tartarus, and in hand with Erebus would block out the light emitted from ether, bringing night and darkness to the world. The next morning, Hemera would then emerge from Tartarus and sweep away the darkness of night, and Nyx would return to her abode. Thus, mother and daughter were never in the same place at the same time. In later Greek mythology, the likes of Eos, Dawn, Helios, Sun, and Apollo would replace the roles of Ether and Hemera, but Nyx herself was never subjugated, an indication of the esteem which the powerful Nox was held in. So Nox continued to do the night thing while everybody else did everything else. Nyx and Zeus, actually, I think there's like a story where I wouldn't say an argument, but had like confrontation. So Nyx wasn't ever really central in specific stories, just like mention of her and like what she did and who she was and where she lived kind of thing was based on it. But there's a tale that suggests that Hera um uh tries to convince Hypnos, and Hypnos is the child of Nyx, to put her husband Zeus to sleep whilst she plotted against him. Hypnos, unfortunately, was not powerful enough to completely incapacitate Zeus, and when he found out what Hypnos had done, Zeus chased after him. Hypnos sought refuge in his mother's cave, and on finding out the location of his prey, gave up the chase because Zeus was wary of angering Nyx. So Zeus apparently is a little bitch boy when it comes to Nyx.
I like it.
Right? I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, basically she lives in Tartarus. She is often seen as a goddess dressed in black, surrounded by mist, and often in the company of some of her numerous children or with a chariot. Um, and then, oh, where is it? Um, oh, Megara is apparently a Greek city west of Athens. That's cool. Um, so she's not the most famous of the 12 Olympian gods and goddesses, but she still plays an integral role in the Greek mythology and the personification of Nice. And she holds a lot of esteem with the other Greek Olympians, I guess. Um, they're kind of afraid of her, and I think that's great.
I
Now,
like it.
I'm curious, though, to know about, like, if not Zeus, Hades owns over, like, the underworld and she lives there, like, is he afraid of her too? Because, like, I don't know how true this is, but I know in a lot of things obviously there's like a back and forth with like the two brothers, always the back and forth between them, like
Right.
night and day basically. But is it really that big of a deal? Like, do they really have that much hate towards each other? And
Right.
if so, is he also terrified of her, or like respects her for the like terror that Zeus gets when having to deal with her or some, I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting though. That's an interesting thought process because he is the god of the underworld, but I feel like she's more powerful than he is. So,
Yeah, like I wonder if she could like make it night and like make everybody blind because like there's no light. That would be
right?
terrifying right there.
Yeah, it would.
I did find um a small little what is it called? Uh family tree basically. Um there's a lot of Gaea in there, let me tell you.
Yeah, she has like, I want to say, where did I write it? Maybe I didn't write it. I want to say it was like more than 60 children.
Yeah, the only one I found is strictly just the Hesiod's um genealogy. Other than that, like it's just random genealogy with everybody everywhere, which makes complete and utter sense. It's just really weird. Sorry, I just looked at a I just looked at a um what is it? I just looked at one of the family trees and it shows the Morai are actually kids or like offspring of Zeus and Themis or
Hmm.
Tihamus or something like that. I don't know who the fuck that is. Anyways, that's all I got on Nyx.
Interesting. Well, Gaea is
Yeah.
supposed to be the personification of Earth, who was
Uh-huh.
born to Nyx, and in some stories it says to Nyx and Chaos, but some stories say just Nyx birthed her all by herself. So whatever, however you want to go with that. Um, like we just said, Gaea has a plethora of children. Literally, as I was doing my research, as I switched sources, I would find more children that she had. So, like, I got all out of order. But I'm going to start with her appearance. Um, in different artworks and different like depictions, she looked different. Some of the older like vases that they found um, depict her as like an older woman, and half of her body is still in the ground, almost like a tree. Um, and like as a matronly figure. Some more modern ones, and I say more modern, but like we're still in ancient Greece, so like it's not modern, it's just newer than the last one.
Mhm.
um they show her in a similar position, like coming out of the earth, but she's younger and has Erichthonius in her hands, um which is one of the kings of Athens, and she gives him to Athena, who raises him.
I think no.
um huh
I could just think of that song, like the TikTok song. I think no.
oh um and then even other paintings show her as a beautiful younger woman, like relaxing on the ground, like the pictures that you see where like she's like naked relaxing, and like um people are feeding her grapes.
Hmm.
There are paintings like that of Gaea with some of her other gods or some of her children nearby. um she is called Mother Earth in a lot of the stories because it says she was the first immortal. And I don't know if that's because technically Nyx and Chaos did not have like bodies. I don't know. But I found in multiple sources that they consider her the first immortal.
I
Um,
feel like
but
you don't have like Mother Earth without, or like you don't have something without Mother Earth, you know?
right, right. So she's the first
You just
living
don't have it.
being that is
Yeah.
I don't know, that is immortal. She's a vampire. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Bella. Bella
um
vampire.
she listen. She's a mess. She's described as the giver of dreams and the nourisher of plants and young children. Um
All
she
right.
spent
I need
many
that. My
she
plants
spent
are
many
dying.
years as the only creature, and she got really lonely, so she created Uranus. um
Uranus.
and to make him happy, she gave him control over the sky and heaven and believed that he would protect her. Um and that's why I said that that's kind of funny because she's his mother, but then he has children with Nyx, who is her mother, and it's just so convoluted and twisted, and like how you could actually create a family tree of these beings. I just not even actually possible.
How?
Oh,
Ask
uh,
Cronus and or Kronos
uh,
or whatever and Rhea, they both had like the main Olympians that everybody
oh my
knows,
god.
Demeter, and then you got Zeus who had sex with his sister, or okay, sorry, not sex, had a child with his sister who was
Right.
Persephone, and then Persephone got with her uncle based off what her father slash uncle slash mom slash aunt said was okay.
It's a
Not
mess.
actually, her mom slash aunt said no. Her dad slash uncle was like, hell yeah,
And then
go
they kind
at
of
it.
tricked her, like,
Yeah, with the
so
pomegranates.
yeah, it's just a hot mess.
And then
It's a
she's
mess.
like,
This
it's
whole thing
fine.
is a
I love
mess.
Hades. He's great. And I'm like,
Stockholm syndrome.
girl.
Oh my god. It's just a mess. Like I'm just looking at this and I'm like jumping around in my notes because it's so much. Because then she creates um Pontus to oversee the ocean and Urea to take over the mountains. Um and like she brought these into being by herself with no male
That's what
figure,
a fucking mother does.
right?
We love them strong single types.
Oh my gosh. And then she creates the titans are born. Those are a union of her and her son Uranus. Cronus is the first titan. And then all of the other titans, and they all love and respect Gaea except for Cronus, who
Makes sense.
yeah, he was kind of like, "Ooh, she's kind of a slut." Um and since he knew that he had a daddy grandpa, or a brother, a daddy brother, I don't even know. Since he knew that his brother was his father, um he was kind of awful to Mother Earth, which I think is very like poetic in that time has kind of ravaged the earth. Time and humans have ravaged the earth, and like it's really poetic. Um she has many other children as well, including the Furies, and it says
Whoa now.
Aphrodite.
Whoa now. Nyx is the mother of the Furies,
I know,
apparently.
I heard you say that, but
And you're
apparently
like,
so is Vita.
wait till you hear my story.
I know, that's right. That's why I was like, some of my stuff is going to contradict what you're saying, but like, but also some stories say that she's the mother of Aphrodite, and I mean, Aphrodite's story is a pretty famous one, so I feel like she's not the mother of Aphrodite, but that was one of the stories.
Mhm.
And then she's the mother of the Cyclops, Gigantus, and, like I already said, Uranus. Um, Another interesting, I don't know, I guess, story about Gaea, um, is that she was the creator of Delphi, of the Oracle, of Delphi and the Oracle. Um, she became, like, personified herself and, like, looked like a tree. And she stood in the center of the town and spoke to a stone, which came to life. So she basically just breathed life into this stone. Um, and the stone became the temple of Delphi. And Gaea was the original oracle. When she got tired of that position, she appointed a nymph to the position by the name of Daphnis. Um, and then a different legend claims that both Gaea and Poseidon shared the oracle, um, and she allowed the oracle freedom to speak, and Poseidon only wanted the oracle to say what he wanted them to say. Um, and then eventually, control of the oracle goes to Apollo, like we talked about in the episode about the oracle.
Hmm.
And then the last thing about Gaea, um, is eventually Uranus kind of turns on Gaea, and Kronos ends up killing him for her. Um, and then a little bit later, um, Zeus and Kronos battle, and Gaea sides with Zeus, which, I mean, obviously creates some more contention, especially because Cronus was already like, "You're slutty, sinful mother." Um, and then when he, like, does something to help her or protect her, she ends up siding with someone else, which is kind of shitty. Um, but I'm sure there's more to that story. I just didn't have time to delve more into it. Um, but her commitment to most of her children, um, helps develop her reputation as a nurturer, especially of younger kids. So that is the story of Gaea, or Mother Earth, who, as I was reading, I didn't see any mentions of this, but I feel like, and this might be from a totally different religion, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, what we call Mother Nature, like, do you think that that sprung from the, like, legends and lore of Gaea?
Probably pretty similar. I feel like English is, I wouldn't say like direct, maybe like a direct second cousin of like Greek and not Italian, but like Latin.
Yeah,
So I feel like with the words and throughout history, I feel like, yeah, it's a great possibility.
right? They seem to have a lot in common.
Yeah. I'm checking out for that spider and I don't know where it's at. It's a tiny little baby.
Hmm.
Well, cool. That
Yeah.
was fun.
So, yeah,
We'll have to do Hades and Persephone next because,
I'm down.
or like, oh, we should do couples.
Like, each
Zeus
pick
is
a
gonna
couple.
have like 8 different episodes
Oh
because
my
that's all we could
god.
fit.
Right,
He's probably
because
got like 40.
eventually we're going to want to move on to a different pantheon. I feel like we could do Greek mythology for the rest of forever, but
Yeah,
eventually we're going to want to move on to a different pantheon, right?
I feel like we should do Greek mythology for just like the entirety of the book we're reading.
Okay.
Odin's like, to the
Hey,
north.
Brittany must have gone to the gym. Because Odin
That's
is
so funny.
singing the song of his people. Yeah, there's definitely a couple more things that I definitely want to cover in Greek, but we will get there.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now. It's called Entering Hecate's Garden,
Oh,
but
is that
a
for
lot
the
of
book club?
it is. It's for Sigil Book Club at Sigil Spellcrafters. Plug. Um, but a lot of the book talks about Circe and my god, her name just went out of my fucking head because I'm obsessed with Circe and not her sister. Damn it.
You're, you're like, all right, well, on to the,
I'm Googling it because the
on to
book
the
is in the other
Google.
room. Medea. Circe and Medea, um, who are both witches in Greek mythology. And it talks like Circe is like herbalism and like I might be having those backwards. One of them is poisons and the other one is like healing. Which I think those being her two of her daughters, she has other children. She's also the mother of Scylla, who we talked about in Scylla and Charybdis. But um, I think maybe that's why she's the goddess of witches, or the witches flock to Hecate, because her two daughters are some of the most famous witches in history. So,
That's actually pretty cool. I'll have to
all
see if I
right.
have local bookstores that have that. Although, I mean, I saw the one book we covered with Kat Gina Cole at one of the.
Yeah.
So that was pretty awesome. I like walked in there and I was looking at all the books and I saw it and I was like, oh, oh.
Right?
And then the girl I was with was like, what's up? And I was like, I've read this. I don't have
And
like I
covered
don't
it.
personally.
Like,
Yeah, I was like, I don't personally have like the book. I have the PDF version, but I was like, I have this, and I talked to the author, so this is pretty cool.
yes.
So fun times.
All
Anyways,
right.
all right. Until next time.
Bye.